Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitascha Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pristhaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So we'll start with offering our obeisances to the Shad Goswamis, and then we'll continue further. We'll have a short recap of what we have done, and then we can continue further with our chapter. Nana Shastra Vicharnika Nipanau Sadharma Sanstapakau Lokanam Hitkarinau Tribhuvane Manyo Sharanyakarau Radha Krishna Padarvinda Bhajananandena Mattalikau Vande Rupa Sanatanau Raghuyugau Shri Jiva Gopalakau. So here we are offering our obeisances. I offer my respectful obeisances unto the 6 Goswamis, namely Shri Rupa Goswami, Shri Sanatan Goswami, Shri Raghunath Bhatta Goswami, Shri Jiva Goswami, and Shri Gopal Bhatta Goswami, who are very expert in scrutinizingly studying all the revealed scriptures with the aim of establishing eternal religious principles for the benefit of all human beings. Thus they are honored all over the 3 worlds, and they are worth taking shelter of because they are absorbed in the mood of the gopis and are engaged in the transcendental loving service of Shri Radha and Shri Krishna. So summary, the 2 important shlokas which we have to remember always: Anya Bhilashita Shunyam Jnana Karmadi Anavritam Anukullena Krishna Anushilanam Bhaktiruttama. And the second shloka, Sarvapadi Vinirmuktam Tatparatvena Nirmalam Rishikena Rishikesha Sevanam Bhakti Uchate. Aspects that the devotional service has to be devoid of all other desires. It has to be favorable to Krishna. It has to be cultivated by following the instructions and footsteps of the previous acharyas. It has to be devoid of any coverings of jnana or karma. It has to be free from all material obligations. We have to take Krishna as the highest object. It means we have to do a service, and it has to be faultless. Characteristics of pure devotional service: it is Kleshagni, Shubhada, Moksha Laghukrata, Sudurlabha, Sandrananda Visheshatma, and Shri Krishna Akarshini. 3 categories of pure devotional service: Sadhana Bhakti, Bhava Bhakti, and Prema Bhakti. So these are the stages in which we will be progressing. The eligibility: 1, there has to be a mercy of devotee. 2, we should not be overly attached. And 3, we should not be overly detached as well. Important to have faith and knowledge. Faith means conviction that the conclusion of the scriptures is correct. And what is that conclusion? Sarva dharman parityajya mamekam sharanam braja. And knowledge means understanding why the conclusions are correct. So the more one's intellect is convinced in this way, the stronger is the attraction and conviction to engage in devotional practices. The 3 types of devotees: Uttama Adhikari, Madhyam Adhikari, and the Kanishta Adhikari. So we are just trying as of now to become Kanishta Adhikari, so that over a period of time we progress slowly and steadily and become Uttama Adhikari and are endeared to Krishna. In 4th chapter, we saw the Shastric illustrations that how those who are eligible for pure devotional service reject the bhakti as well as the mukti, that is material desires as well as the liberation. We also saw the Shastric quotes, how devotees of Vrindavan reject even the desire for liberation, even liberation to Vaikuntha, and that is possible because they get a higher taste. They are able to abandon the selfish aspirations for sense gratification and liberation, because pleasure obtained from devotional service surpasses the pleasure of liberation and sense gratification. In chapter 3 and 4, thus we have understood the eligibility. We have understood that it is not stringent. We simply need attraction to serve Lord. In chapter 5, what we are trying to see is, while generally we may require pious birth or purification, prayaschitta rituals or varnashrama dharma, chapter 5 has explained us that bhakti is not dependent on any of the three prerequisites. It is independent and self-sufficient. Then we understood how a devotee can be rectified, because it is possible that because of some impure activities, we may fall down. So the process of rectification is that he has to strictly take up his devotional principles thereafter. There is no other need for any prayaschitta. So that is how bhakti is better than jnana or karma. The Shastric confirmation was from the 11th canto. So then we came to the sadhana bhakti, wherein we have seen the 64 ways of doing the sadhana bhakti and how to become better and achieve our objectives in life seriously. So that is what we have covered till now, and we'll just once again summarize what we saw in those what I'll say 64 methods or practices that we are supposed to be doing. So what this is going to give us or make us aware about is how we are going to be beneficial. So there was one more aspect which we need to see. I'll just share the presentation screen again so that it becomes easier for us to follow. So this one was an important aspect which we just missed out the other day during discussions. So every other process of self-realization is practically depending on certain external things. Like for Jnana Yoga, you'd require a peaceful, renounced disposition and a highly developed intellect. In Ashtanga Yoga, they have got rigid prerequisites. Like you should be a sannyasi. So you get to know a lot about Ashtanga Yoga if you go through the 6th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. In Karma Kanda, we understand that yajna can be successful only if time, place, and ingredients are flawless. But in Bhakti, it is the only method which is completely pure from dependence on external prerequisites. And therefore, that chapter was titled as Purity of Devotional Service. So just see, you may come across many people who may tell you, okay, you do Jnana Yoga or you do Ashtanga Yoga, but these are the aspects based on which why Bhakti Yoga is better and recommended. So this we have seen. So how to discharge the devotional service? So 64 items of sadhana bhakti which we saw, 20 items of importance and 44 additional items. So 20 items of importance, there were Pravritti Karma, the 10 items, that is activities we should do. Nivritti Karma, 10 items additional, wherein it is things we should avoid to do. And then 44 additional items, they are again subclassified into two parts, 39 items of sadhana and 5 most effective items. So these are the things which we'll be covering today onwards. So 10 activities to accept, which we saw already. Shri Guru Padashraya, that is taking shelter of the lotus feet of Shri Guru. Shri Krishna Diksha Shikshadi, that is receiving initiation and spiritual instructions. Pritru Purvaka Guru Seva, that is serving Shri Guru with love. Sadhu Marga Anusuraha, following the path of the sadhus. Bhajane Riti Niti Pashna, questions about the procedures of bhajana. Krishnarthe Akhila Bhoge Tyaga, renunciation of all material enjoyments for Krishna. Tirthavasaha, that is Tirthavasa, Tirtha Mahatmya, Shravanam Cha, go and live in sacred place and live and hear the greatness of such places. 8th was Swabhakti Nirvahana Rupa Bhojanadi Swikaram, accepting only what is required for the sustenance of bhakti. 9th was Shri Ekadashi Vrata, observing vow of Ekadashi. And 10th was Ashwatha Tulasi Dhatri Go Brahmana Vaishnava Sammanam, offering respect to the Ashwatha Tulasi, Amlaki tree, the cows, the Brahmanas, and the Vaishnavas. 10 activities to avoid were Asadhu Sangatyaga, giving up the association of non-devotees, Bahushishya Karana Tyaga, to give up the desire to take many disciples, Bahu Arambha Tyaga, giving up to many undertakings, Bahu Shastra Vyakhya Vivadadi Tyaga, renouncing the study of many scriptures in order to make novel explanations and arguments, Vyavhara Karpanya Tyaga, giving up miserly behavior, Shoka Krodhadi Tyaga, giving up lamentation, anger, etc. Devantantatra Ninda Tyaga, giving up blasphemy and disrespect of other devtas. Pramatre Udvega Tyaga, giving up harassment of other living beings. Seva Apradha Nama Apradha Tyaga, giving up all offenses in regard to Seva and Nama. And 20th was Guru Krishna Bhakta Ninda Sahana Tyaga. One should not tolerate the blasphemy of Sri Guru, Sri Krishna, or the devotees. So this is what we have covered. Now let us continue our discussions further. Now when we were doing these discussions, I received a couple of questions that, Prabhuji, please explain how bhakti is independent of the necessity of pious birth. So this particular aspect was something which was being confused. So that is why we are continuing our discussion today from this topic. Now, this topic is also important to understand why association of devotees is important. So this is illustrated by the story of Dharma Vyadha also, who was a non-violent hunter, and it is described in the Varaha Purana. So in previous life, somehow he had become a Brahma Rakshas, or what we call as the Brahman ghost. But he was eventually saved. In Kali Yuga, he had the association of a Vaishnava king named Vasu. And that is why when he took birth as Dharma Vyadha, though he was a hunter, he was a non-violent hunter, and he worked upon his bhakti and become pious. We have also seen the story of Kubja, who associated directly with Guru Krishna. And this was possible because in her previous birth, she had associated with Sri Narad Muni. So because of Narad Muni's mercy, when she took birth as Kubja, she had the opportunity to associate with Lord Krishna. We read a lot and we always praise the gopis of Vrindavan. But even they did not get that opportunity all of a sudden. They had rendered service to saintly persons in their previous births. And because they had ample association with devotees, they became gopis in the Vrindavan in their next lives and associated with the eternally liberated gopis who had ascended there. They were also lucky to have association with Tulsi Devi or Vrinda Devi. So just see, if they had not had the association of saintly persons, they would not have got birth in Vrindavan. They would not have had the opportunity to be associated with the liberated gopis and association with Tulsi Devi or Vrinda Devi. So this is very, very important. Even we hear in Krishna's book story, the wives of the Brahmanas who were doing yajna, they had the association with women sent by Lord Krishna to sell flower garlands and betel nuts. And from them they heard about Lord Krishna. And so though their husbands were doing yajna, what they did, they prepared all the food which was prepared, they sent it for Krishna, Balrama and their friends in the forest. And that was possible because priorly they got the association of those women who had come to sell flower garlands and betel nuts and heard from Krishna. So it's not our birth which determines what we are going to get. It's the association of devotees. And so it is very important that somehow or the other, you always take associations. Then further evidences for this is available in the Srimad Bhagavatam first canto. Savai Punshan, that is, devotional service has no material cause and therefore it cannot be checked by any material circumstances. Srila Prabhupada writes that bhakti is rendered without any hope for material gain. It is open for all. It is without any distinction, and it is constitutional occupation of the spirit soul. So, understanding all these things, it is also important that we understand what are the different kinds of births. Because generally we come to know that, okay, someone has born and then we celebrate birthday of that particular person, or the the day he has appeared, Avirbhav Divas. But our Puranas, our Shastras talk that we are getting three kinds of births. And all those three kinds of birth have their importance. And if we understand this importance and practically utilize it, then our life becomes possible and we are able to start our journey on this 64 paths in a much more effective manner. So what are these? It has come in this shloka. Kim janma bhavihi tribhir veha shaukra savitri yajnikaihi karma bhi vatrai prokataihi punsho api vibudhyasu. A civilized human being has three kinds of birth. The first birth is by a pure father and a mother, and this is called the birth by semen. The next birth takes place when one is initiated by the spiritual master, and this birth is called Savitra. The third birth, called Yagnika, takes place when one is given the opportunity to worship Lord Vishnu. Despite the opportunity of attaining such births, even if one gets the lifespan of a demigod, if one does not actually engage in the service of the Lord, everything is useless. Similarly, one's activities may be mundane or spiritual, but they are useless if they are not meant for the satisfaction of the Lord. So, in Krishna consciousness movement, Prabhupada ji writes that we offer the students his first initiation and allow him to chant the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. So by chanting the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, what happens is, if he's doing it regularly, sincerely, and he's following the four regulative principles, then he becomes qualified to be initiated as a Brahmana. Because unless one is qualified Brahmana, he cannot be allowed to worship Lord Vishnu. So that is called as the Yagnika Jamba. In Krishna consciousness, unless one is twice initiated, first by chanting Hare Krishna mantra and second by Gayatri mantra, he is not allowed to enter the kitchen or the deity room to execute the duties. However, when one is elevated to the platform, when he can worship the deity, his previous birth does not matter at all. Chandalo api dvija shreshtoho Hari Bhakti Parayanah Hari Bhakti Vihinascha Dvijo api Swa Pacha Dhama. Even if one is born in the family of a Chandala, if one is engaging in the devotional service of the Lord, he becomes the best of Brahmanas. But even a Brahmana who is devoid of devotional service is on the level of the lowest dog eater. So, if a person is advanced in devotional service, it does not matter whether he is in a Chandala family or in a bigger family. He becomes purified. So, Prabhupada Maharaj, Prahlad Maharaj also said in 7th canto, which we have just covered in last month, Vipradadvyashad guna yutad arvindanabha padarvinda vimukhat swapacham varishtham. Even if one is a Brahmana and is qualified with all Brahmanical qualifications, he is considered degraded if he is averse to worshipping the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But if a person is attached to the service of the Lord, he becomes glorified even if he is born in a Chandala family. Indeed, such a Chandala can deliver not only himself but all his family predecessors. Without devotional service, even a proud Brahmana cannot deliver himself. And what to speak of his family? In many instances in the Shastras, it is seen that even a Brahmana has become a Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra, Mleccha or non-Brahmana. And there are many instances of us being born a Kshatriya or Vaishya or even lower, and in the 18th year, attaining elevation to the Brahmanical platform by the process of initiation. So, getting this second birth is also important. Therefore, Narad Muni says, Yasya yala lakshanam proktam punsho varna bhi yadna jakam Yad anyatra api drishyata tat teneva vinirdisheta. It is not a fact that because one is born in a Brahmana family is automatically a Brahmana. He has a better chance to become a Brahmana, but unless he meets all the Brahminical qualifications, he cannot be accepted as such. On the other hand, if the Brahminical qualifications are found in the person of a Shudra, he should immediately be accepted as a Brahmana. To substantiate this, there are many quotations from Bhagavatam, Mahabharata, then Bharadvaj Samhita, Pancharatra, as well as many other scriptures. So this was about the important aspect why bhakti can be done by all of us, though we are not born in a Brahmana family. So now we should just concentrate on following these 10 things which are to be done and avoiding those 10 things which are to be not done. And then automatically our life is going to be progressing further. So about the 64 Angas, it comes in the second chapter. So the shloka is Hari Bhakti Vilase Asya Bhaktera Angani Lakshasha Kintu Tani Prasiddhani Nirdishyante Yathamati. In a Hari Bhakti Vilas, innumerable Angas of Bhakti are mentioned. Among those, the most famous ones will be explained to the best of my judgment. So this is what Srila Rupa Goswamiji is writing clearly, that though Hari Bhakti Vilas is talking about many Angas, the most important 64 Angas are going to be explained by him in this particular book. So after having seen the first 10 items to do, the next 10 items to be avoided, the question comes, what are the remaining 44? So at times it becomes very difficult to remember all the 64. So this is how the next 44 are going to be classified. So the first 11 items are about the whole body, how the whole body can be utilized. The next 5 items will be talking about voice. The next 2 will be talking about taste. So after voice, we are talking about taste. And then we move up to the smell, 1 item. Then touch. Then the sight, 2 items. Then the ear, hearing, 1 item. Then the mind, 9 items. And then seva, tadiya seva, 4 items. Some which will be mixed, 3, and 5 which are the principles. So this is how you can remember the balance 44 as well. 11 items are related to the whole body. Then you are talking about the voice 5, then the taste, that is tongue 2, smell 1, touch 1, sight 2, hearing 1, mind 9, tadiya seva 4, mixed 3, and principles 5. So this is how you have to remember those 44 additional items. What are those that we'll be reciting? Now amongst these, 5 are most important. And they are called as the 5 limbs of devotional service. So if we are able to do even slightly any one of these, then automatically our love for Krishna gets awakened. So what are these 5 items? It is also given in this shloka. Sadhu Sangha Nama Kirtan Bhagavata Shravana Mathura Vashri Murtira Shraddhaya Sevana. Sadhu Sangha means association with devotees. Nama Kirtana means chanting the holy name. Bhagavata Shravana means hearing Srimad Bhagavatam. Mathura Vas means living at Mathura. Shri Murtira Shraddhaya Sevana, worshipping the deity with faith and veneration. So besides those first 2 shlokas, I would request that you learn this shloka as well for your more purification and improvement. Sadhu Sangha Nama Kirtana Bhagavata Shravana Mathura Vasa Shri Murtera Shraddhaya Sevana. Very simple to remember. Sadhu Sangha Nama Kirtana Bhagavata Shravana Mathura Vasa Shri Murtera Shraddhaya Sevana. So what are these 5 activities? One should associate with devotees. We should chant the holy name of the Lord. We should hear Srimad Bhagavatam. We should reside at Mathura. And we should worship the deity with faith and veneration. So it is very important that we develop the love for these particular qualities. So since this was an important aspect, I have started it first so that even if we are coming towards the closure of the time, we don't miss out on that. So requesting, please learn this particular shloka as well and try to implement it in your life. So let us now see all those 44 angas in detail and understand them one by one. So first is we should decorate the body with tilaka. Actually, that is the sign of the Vaishnava. The idea is that as soon as a person sees these marks, he will immediately remember Krishna. And Lord Chaitanya has also said that a Vaishnava is one who, when seen, reminds anyone else with about Krishna. Therefore, it is important that we mark our body with tilak, not only for our safety, but also to remind others of Krishna. So I request all of you that please start applying the Gopi Chandan on your head. If you want to know the process, the mantras which are to be followed, I'll share across the PDF copy. If you ask on WhatsApp, I'll share it across to you on what are the beginner's guide to the Krishna consciousness. So there it is clearly mentioned. So for males, the tilak has to be applied at multiple places. For females, it is lower number of places. Males have to do complete Sashtanga Dandavat. Females have to do Panchanga Dandavat. So these are the aspects. So second is, in marking such tilak, sometimes one may also write Hare Krishna on the body. So you may find certain devotees writing Hare and Krishna here, besides the tilak. So that is also permitted. So then that also remembers. Third is, we should accept flowers and garlands that have been offered to the deity and the spiritual master and put them on one's body. So if you're going to temple and you get this opportunity to get even flower, not to speak of garland, you should think you are very, very lucky for that day. Because they are direct offerings, prasad of the deities and the spiritual master. So as soon as you get there, respect them and put them on your body. Now, they are a direct touch. The mercy is directly coming to you, touch to touch mercy. And that is why it is important. Fourth is, we should learn to dance before the deity. It's not difficult. Even in our childhood, we were dancing. We used to catch, our fingers used to be caught by our parents, and then we used to do like this, like this, like this. So we can do at least that much. We can go one step front, one step behind. We can have our hand up, we can have our hand down. Not very difficult. That is important. We should be completely free, forget everything, what others may think. We may not be expert dancers, but then we have to use the body, we have to move the body for the pleasure of Krishna. We should learn to bow down immediately upon seeing deity or the spiritual master. This is very, very important. Offering the respects to the deities as well as the spiritual master. As soon as we visit a temple of Lord Krishna, we must stand up. It's not that बैठे car में जा रहे हैं and we continue going in the car. No. Immediately stand up in front of Lord and offer dandavats and then stand up and pray to Krishna. We should not be remaining sitting. Then it is said, if the Lord is being taken for a stroll in the street, we must follow the procession as well. In fact, in India, we will find that this is a parampara in many of the temples. That whenever there are basically Utsav deities and there are the offered deities, that is the deities which are established. So the Utsav deities, they sometimes take in the evening and there's umbrella and then a procession is going with a band of devotees playing kirtana. So if they come on the street and travel in the neighborhood, then the people in the neighborhood, what they do, they offer the respects and they also offer prasad. And all the residents of the neighborhood will follow the procession. This actually happens in India in many of the towns. When deity is coming out, the servitors put forward the daily account to them. So much was the collection, so much was the expenditure. The idea is basically that deity is the proprietor of everything. And the priests and others are only taking care as servants of the deity. This is a very, very good system, still followed. And therefore, it is mentioned that when deity is on stroll, the people should follow behind. Like we have Jagannath Rath Yatra. If you remember, so many towns, so many places, Jagannath Rath Yatra comes. So when Jagannath Ji is passing, you should not just say Dandavat, see him, then okay, he has gone and I continue. No, you should join behind Jagannath Ji. That is what is important. That is what this 27th activity is. The 8th is that we should visit the Vishnu temple at least once or twice every day, morning and evening. So if you have any temple nearby, please make it a habit to visit there. And if you don't have a temple nearby, at least visit the altar which is there in your house. If you don't have an altar, at least keep laminated photographs and visit them every day in the morning and evening. This is important. In fact, in Vrindavan, this system is followed very strictly. Everyone in Vrindavan, morning, evening, they visit all the different temples. Therefore, you will find that in the evenings and the mornings, there's huge crowd. And there are more than 5,000 temples in Vrindavan already. You may not go to all temples, but there are around 10, 12 important temples which should be visited when you are in Vrindavan. Daily, twice a day. That is done by the residents there even now. So we should follow that. 9th is we should circumambulate the temple building at least 3 times. So when you go to the temple, it's not just we pay our obeisances, we talk to Krishna, we cry in front of him, we try to do a deal. Prabhuji, I am giving a Lord, oh Krishna, I am giving you this prasad, you give me this another prasad. No. We should also be circumambulating the temple 3 times minimum. Some devotees may go 10 times, 15 times, according to their goals. In fact, Goswamis, they used to circumambulate the Govardhan. When we go to Vrindavan, we should circumambulate the whole of Vrindavan area also. That is what is important. This is clearly mentioned, 29th activity. 38 is we must worship the deity in the temple according to the regulative principles. So what does it mean? We should offer arti, prasad, decorate the deity. This must be observed regularly. In fact, there are deity worship, home deity worship workshops also which are arranged regularly. So if you get an opportunity, please join them. Even if you don't have deities, even if you have laminated photos, please follow the instructions. You can clean the photos every day in the morning with a mop, make it clean, make them look shining, offer flowers to them, and then do the proper worship. And what is that proper worship? It's very simple. First, you offer incense stick, then you offer the pancharti. After pancharti, since there is fire, you need to give them now cold. So you offer water. And now you have offered water, they are wet. So you offer them a cloth. And once the cloth is offered, now you offer them the flowers. And now they are feeling happy. So you serve them with air. And then you offer the peacock feathers if it is a hot season. That's it. And thereafter you offer them the scent. Such simple activity. So even if you are having photo laminated deities, you should do this activity. Lord will be very, very pleased. And that is the D. When Prabhupada is talking about ABCD, this D is this particular D besides the diet. The 31st is you must render personal service to the deities. It's very important. Whenever, wherever you get an opportunity, try to associate yourself with some temple. If you don't have any temple, 2 of you, 3 of you, create a Bhakti Yoga center. Together. Today you may be only 2, 3. Slowly, the deities which you establish, they will attract the devotees automatically. And that 2, 3, you won't be even understanding how soon it can become 200, 300. But come together. It will help you a lot. 30-second is we must sing. Sometimes people say, I don't have sweet voice. I cannot sing at all. Even I don't have good voice. But when I'm taking any discussion in temple, I do start with Jai Radha Madhav. So you should always have kartal like this. You can get it from your local temple, or you can even order them online. And you can play them. It's very easy. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. And chant. Jaya Radha Madhava. Jaya Kunja Bihari. So simple. That is what we have to do. And I do carry it. Even when I'm in office and we have lunch break, I do come down in the parking area and try to recite something to the Narsya Bhagwan which I have in my vehicle. So you must sing. It is very important. You must perform Sankirtan. Please, every one of you, husband, wife, I would like to really appreciate Sridhar Prabhuji and his Mataji, wife. They're such a good couple. I get the opportunity of associating with them in the evening 6 p.m. class, wherein they are doing reading of the different scriptures. So they sing, beautiful singing, both of them together. And it's like they're doing a Sankirtana. Automatically people will join. 14th, chanting. Very, very important. That has to be done without failure. There's no alternative to chanting. Chanting has to be done as best as possible. We must offer our prayers, and we should also recite some notable prayers. So in fact, we are going to be covering a few of the notable prayers, like prayers of Brahmaji, prayers of Kunti Maharani, all those things. So that will be covered in subsequent chapters. So we'll just continue with the other items, which we'll continue discussing tomorrow. Next is we must taste Mahaprasad, that is food from the very plate offered to the deities. We must drink Charnamrit. So whatever is offered to the deities, to the guests, that should be taken by us. We must smell the incense and the flowers offered to the deity. We must touch the lotus feet of the deity. We must see the deity with great devotion. We must offer Aratika at different times. We must hear about the Lord and his pastimes from Srimad Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita, and similar books. Now coming to the mind, we must pray to the deity for his mercy. We should remember the deity. We should meditate upon the deity. We should render some voluntary service. The mixed activities are starting. We should think of the Lord as one's friend. We should offer everything to the Lord. We should offer a favorite article such as food or garment. We should take all kinds of risks and perform all endeavors for Krishna's benefit. In every condition, we should be a surrendered soul. We should pour water on the Tulsi tree. We should regularly hear Srimad Bhagavatam and similar literature. We should live in a sacred place like Mathura, Vrindavan, or Dwarka. One should offer service to Vaishnavas, devotees. One should arrange our devotional service according to our means. And in the month of Kartika, that is October, November, one should make arrangement for special services like we do every day, like we'll be doing again today, Damodar Ashtaka. Then during Janmashtami, that is time of Krishna's appearance, we should observe a special service. We should do whatever is done with great care and devotion for the deity. We should relish the pleasure of Bhagavatam reading among devotees and not among outsiders. So if you see, the very first verse of 4th chapter of 1st canto talks about this. The 42nd item is we should associate with devotees who are considered more advanced, because automatically their mercy will come on us and our bhakti will improve further. We should chant the holy name of the Lord and we should live in the jurisdiction of Mathura. So these are the other 44 activities which we have covered today. So we'll continue the discussion further tomorrow, where we'll take a few of these activities and discuss in detail more about those activities and how they are important or how we have to execute them further. So please join on time tomorrow. I'm just waiting for the opportunity